Before we begin, thank you very much to Legion Class Convoy for pitching in over on Ko-fi. Ironic that name comes up now because, yeah, that is actually going to be relevant during the proceedings of this video. But thank you very much for contributing. Thank you very much for pitching in and helping keep the channel going. Always appreciated. We have toys to talk about. So, I got to thinking about a lot of the designs over the years that we Transformer fans seem to go to a lot or hold special significance that makes them come up a lot in conversation, and yet we've only seen them once. You know, these are ideas and concepts and looks that are just like spot on, present the characters really, really well, or feature very prominent characters, and then for whatever reason, we've never seen it again. Think of how many times you have seen, you know, Soundwaves, Grimlocks, Optimus Primes over the years, and yet somehow, some way, some slip through the cracks. So that is what today's video is about. We're going to look at 10 iconic Transformer designs that we only ever got one toy of. Now, little caveat to that, some of these do have figures in the Legend/Legion size, and we're not strictly counting those because they don't really do anything new to the figure. It's mostly just a mini version of said design. We're looking for something that upgrades, modernizes, or just in general properly brings back the original look. So with that little caveat out of the way, here are 10 iconic Transformer designs we only got once. At number 10, we have what I like to call the Terminator 2 of Transformers, or the Street Fighter 2. The look that was so good, you completely forget about his original look, and that's Tarantulas. Well, yes, his most recent figure was a Kingdom release that emulated his original non-Transmetal form. It really is the Transmetal look of the character that has become synonymous with Tarantulas. It was the design used in IDW, or at least the one that IDW based its version of Tarantulas on. Also, Earthspark did the same. It's just way more distinct than this like vaguely, thick black Arachnia, because we identify Black Arachnia by her non-transmetal body more than we identify Tarantulas by that these days. It's just such a cool look. The spider eyes across the chest, the big shoulder guards with the green highlights on it. It looks wicked, and it's super appropriate for how creepy the character is, not to mention just color scheme. Everything works on this. It's one of the better toys out of Transmetal. Now, the caveat here is that most Transmetal designs have not gotten new upgrades, but in the very least, we've seen this design and variations of it featured elsewhere. They've had opportunities. Why they have never taken it and why we still have only the one, I will never know. Here's a bit of a cheat because it's going to be 3 at the same time, and it's 3 that really should be in discussion and I hear almost no one talk about. For all the new Armada toys we've been getting, where's the Street Action Minicon team? I put them in this list because, well, they're the first Transformers we saw in Transformers Armada. They're kind of significant in that regard. They're also the first time that Transformers were genuinely bonded to humans as their partners, rather than just being friends like we saw with Spike and Bumblebee, for instance. So they hold a pretty big piece of significance to them. Also, this really was just Hasbro showing off how different the new era of Transformers was going to be that year. Hey, what do you mean we're getting mini Transformers for the first time since Micromasters? And not only are they going to combine, you're doing ridiculous stuff like bicycles, skateboards, and mopeds. How? And they did, and it worked. And the fact that this design, like, considering how many episodes they featured in, how prominent they were, especially in like the first half of the series, it's shocking to me then we don't talk about like where this team went and why this team has not gotten anything new. I know we're begging for any mini cons at this point, but this team in particular gets left behind because they're not partnered to any of the new Transformer Armada toys coming out these days. But they really need to be, because they were a big part of that franchise. They deserve another go around. Let's go back to the late 90s, early 2000s. You're a Transformer collector who loved Beast Wars, or maybe not even a collector yet. Maybe you were just really big on these toys and wanted to see what else was out there. And then you found out that of all the characters in the show, one was only done in Japan. That was the X9 Ravage. Now, I'm aware that during Kingdom we got a brand new version of the character from Beast Wars, but we didn't get this one, did we? No. We got a Cheetor retool, but it was the baseline Cheetor, not the Transmetal. And this just hits a different level. I mean, it's a cooler looking bot. I love the action features to it. Like, this was super cool to find out, like, yeah, it was a Cheetor retool, but it had flip out guns and a hidden, like, door chest that showed his real allegiance. This was a really cool toy, like one of the better retools we ever got from that era. And yeah, we've never seen the like. Now, there have been toys inspired by it. You can point to the Alternator. You can point to the BotCon toy that is part of the year we do not talk about, the toy we do not talk about, the flat head. But they're derivative of Beast Wars Ravage. They are not the man. This is the man. This was the first grail you found out about as a Beast Wars collector. You know, that one in Japan that always eluded you and was based on the super cool character from the agenda. I would love to get this toy again, but first we have to get a Transmetal Cheetor for that. And Hasbro is just super reluctant to do Transmetals for varying reasons. But one day, they're going to have no choice. They're going to be the only avenue left to go for Beast Wars characters. And you got to add the Ravage in there somewhere. This one is going to cause a riot because I am technically cheating on this one. What we're talking about is the second version of a character, but this is because of the unusual circumstances behind him. And he gets into this list in the opposite direction of the others. Let's talk about Bumper for a minute here. Now, you go to me and you say, like, wait, that's not an iconic design. They've barely used him. Well, you need to rewind even further back than Ravage. You need to go to the early 90s, when the only Transformer experts you ran into were the ones at trade shows or like traveling collectibles salesmen, or just industry professionals, the ones who worked at comic book shops, the early collector stores, who would get all this information gathered from other collector store owners. And that would be the only real source of info you had, because there was no internet to easily look this stuff up. And they would tell you about Bumble Jumper, this weird looking like Bumblebee with a different head. He looked kind of like Cliff Jumper as much as he did Bumblebee, and he came, like, if you were lucky enough to find it unopened, it was on a Bumblebee card. So yeah, it was like this weird, like, early Holy Grail, like one of the first ever Holy Grails you ever heard about in the Transformer fandom. Now, I put him in here because this really is the first official Bumper toy. And that being said, we do know the original one came out in G1, but it was complete by as much as I can tell, complete accident. Because the original version of that mold in Japan used white, not yellow. So the fact that it was packed in Bumblebee cards and the fact that it was yellow instead of white tells me it's accidentally used. A mold that happened to look like a Bumblebee mold, but was used incorrectly by the factory. Thus, the toy we knew as Bumble Jumper for like 2 decades. The original Holy Grail, and a character we only got once, making the fact that his design is iconic, but also still unused, because guess what? Even this one, it's only the head. The body is still not Bumble Jumper. It's close. It's not quite there yet. I just thought this would be a fun one to throw in here, just for a little bit of variety. So take it for what you will. It is still shocking that we only got one once out of all these years of him being a legend of the fandom. I am totally not putting this one in because I am salty over the fact that we haven't gotten a new one. Totally not. No, I have completely legitimate reasons for why this one makes the list. That it is far beyond just me just being annoyed and frustrated. That is Beast Wars 2nd Galvatron. Now, incredible design, super fun toy. I understand it would be a interesting one to try to release today. You're talking like Commander class here. This is like Magnetar level. However, one thing to acknowledge here is the fact that all of the Beast Wars leaders have had at least one representation in modern lines. We might not have Transmetal Optimus Prime and Megatron, but we do have their Season 1 forms. We also have multiple Lio convoys and a big convoy that just saw release. And of course, Magnetar at the Commander class. That leaves one. Now, Hasbro's really big on completing sets, so I ask Hasbro, where is he? Are you just scared of releasing a Lavender Titan like him? Not that he would be a Titan class, you know, I'm using this in like glowing admiration of this design. No, this one I think is inevitable. I think at some point, yeah. I mean, keep in mind, if you were in Japan, this was the bad guy. This was the bad guy for an entire year's worth of cartoons. So, in that regard, yeah, he is iconic, and he is weirdly missing considering all the other recent Beast Wars releases. So, hopefully it's not too far out. Hopefully we do see him someday. It's an incredible design I would love to see again, preferably without gold plastic dragon feet that scare me. But who knows? Might be a long time to wait. Might not be. We'll wait and see. Some Transformer characters are sacred. You know, you aren't going to do anything that different with Megatron or Optimus Prime or Starscream or Grimlock. However, there's some that have had lots of experimentation over the years, and sometimes it just hits all the notes. We need to talk about Prime Soundwave. I remember an error listing popping up at some point that people speculated was going to be this version of the character, and I think that got scrapped. It's not in any of my like rumor mills at this time. However, this one just hit so different. It was silent and creepy, and his like super thin proportions in the show just made him just have a presence about him. This was the scariest I've seen Soundwave. It might be one of the scariest I've ever seen in Transformers, period. And the fact that we've only gotten it the one time is shocking. This is the one where he does have a Legion class. We're ignoring that. Obviously, we would love a modern interpretation. A modern class Voyager of this design would absolutely annihilate. I mean, I want to see it. A lot of people want to see it. It's genuinely one of the best designs in Prime. Here where we're all kind of like clamoring for like, well, where's Knockout? We got this Knockout that sucks. We got KSI Widow who's kind of that. Do that. We're all distracted. We've become distracted between Bulkhead and Knockout. We've become distracted from the real goal, which is to peer pressure Hasbro into doing this Soundwave again. They've divided us, my brothers and sisters, and everything in between. We need a united front to get this design done again. I might be overreacting a little bit, but this does have to get done eventually. It's too popular of a design. It's too good of a design. And one that looks a little bit more like the show, I would not mind at all. Here's another one I have to put like a little asterisk on, because I know technically they do have another toy, but technically they really don't. We're going to address that for a second, but first we need to discuss Transmutate. It's a one episode character that has more impact as a one episode character than pretty much anyone I can imagine in Transformers. In the span of 22 minutes of getting to know this character, it's heartbreaking. You know, it is like one of the more tragic episodes that Transformers ever produced. I mean, it's an emotional ride. Now, I understand why they do not do this design. I mean, look at it. You know, like, even if they did this one by intention, getting a kid to pick this toy up and go, yes, I want this, is going to be a difficult sell. I'm not even concerned with the fact that, like, oh, well, what would it transform into? Like, we've got transforming Quintesson toys. This would transform into something, okay? I'm not worried about that. You know, I acknowledge why it does not have a new toy, but I take a look at what the Beast Wars Build-A-Figure from 20 years ago, by the way. That's how long it's been since we got a Transmutate toy. Yeah, I take a look at what that goes for on eBay right now, and it's absurd. It's crazy how expensive that toy is. And the only other thing we have is a collector's club one that's a repaint of RC. And that isn't proper Transmutate, is it? It's not even the one on screen. It's from an alternate universe. So I don't count that one. We want this one. This is the one that commands the value. This is the one that we're emotionally connected to. It's frustrating. Understandable, still frustrating. Of everything on this list, I feel like this is the one that has the most, weird to say it like this, historic implications of everything on this list. It's weird to think about it that way, but we're talking about Alternator Smokescreen. You have to imagine, this was 2004. We just got the very first retail released figure that was designed specifically for collectors of Transformers. Before classics, when toys were lucky to homage old characters, here was a G1 character brought to modern times as pristine as they possibly could to appeal to the now adult collectors who grew up with the originals from the 80s. And you had all these modern fixes to them. A hood that opens, a trunk that opens, doors that open, with molded interiors for the car mode. 1/24th scale, like many popular collector's cars back in the day. Full range of articulation in robot mode. A very complex transformation scheme for most of these figures. Fun little tricks like the engine transforming into a gun. And, oh, by the way, rubber tires and steering that is aligned thanks to magnets. They went all out on this, and that's just aside from like the deco loaded with tampagraphs to get the race car theme correct. They went all out to make sure the first volley of alternators was really, really impressive. And looking at magazine scans of Binaltech out of Japan, waiting for this thing to come out, you were salivating, waiting to actually get your hands on this. Now, they spoiled it by making solid waves of the guy to start the toy line off. That was a mistake. This guy shelf-warmed everywhere, unfortunately. But his place in Transformer history is very cemented. And across all the Datsun molds that we have had since this toy came out, not a single one has been redone into the alternator design, even though it would just be an easy repaint job. It's disappointing. This really does deserve a nod. A lot of alternators deserve a nod, but this one, being the first, being the beginning of Transformers for collectors, this absolutely needs another go around. You know, sometimes this is just like the funniest thing I can do, you know, like to go through and try to figure out something like, well, what are like the most significant designs that have only gotten one toy or have only been done once in some capacity? And I started looking through and I start thinking of names and I go, no, surely that's wrong. That has to be wrong. That has to have another toy. No, there's only the one. How is that possible? And in this case, it's Primus. God in the Transformers universe has but one toy, and it's the one that came out in Transformers Cybertron, meaning it's not even a representation of G1 Primus of any shape or form. We have that nice like dark blue and red design that everyone really, really liked, and then never got an official toy. We still have this. And every now and then when Primus comes up, this is still the design they use because, well, frankly, there's nothing else. There's nothing else to use. It's a great design, don't get me wrong. But, like, this is what you're kind of clamoring for when someone goes, well, hey, why don't we get that HasLab Primus to go with the HasLab Unicron? Because some people want to drop $750 like that. I don't. Point being, it is super weird to me that of all characters, Primus himself only has the one toy to go off of. And it's really the 13's fault. Hasbro has like fallen in love with the idea of the 13 so badly that they kind of forget their dad. Dad is just kind of out getting like Energon goodies right now and hasn't come back from the convenience store yet. So we have the 13 Primes that are basically doing everything for him. Look at Transformers 1. Literally the Primus chooses Optimus Prime, Orion Pax to become Optimus Prime. And it's the 13 meeting him and presenting the Matrix. It's not even Primus himself. So we've kind of lost the plot. I miss Primus. I miss Transformer God. What happened? Where did he go? Here's one that feels like it's been around, but really, it hasn't. So, of all the designs I could look at, of all the ones that I assume, like, this is just, like, a really, really well-known design amongst the fandom that has never gotten a proper go-around again, of all of them, the one I point to the most important one, is G2 Megatron. Again, a Legion class toy exists, but let's be honest, it really does not do the job, does it? It doesn't even come close. This was your Megatron if you were a 90s kid. Like you got to think about this. There's that whole generation of like too young to have been there for the original toy. And those never got a Megatron toy really. And then you had the kids in the 90s who couldn't have the gun Megatron, but they got into it with the G2 cartoon. This is the Megatron they were given. And this was like my first Megatron toy as a kid. Absolutely iconic design. For a whole generation of fans, this was Megatron. Now, there have been tons of homages to it. Most modern Megatron toys have gotten the green and purple camo deco, but it doesn't hit right, does it? It doesn't have the big chest. It doesn't have the cannon over the shoulder. It's just missing a lot of the elements to it. I'm still waiting for a proper one, and there's no reason not to. I mean, you have to figure out how to make his torso shorter. Like you'd need a Megatron whose arms are actually longer than his chest. That would be nice to have. But yeah, like for what it is, it's weird. It's weird that for as popular as this design is, for as iconic and memorable as it is, not a single new toy, not a single one since the 90s. It's crazy to me. And yeah, for me, absolutely the most iconic design that we have only seen once. So, that is the list, but this is far from an exhaustive list. I cut like 3 or 4 out of this, and this is like one of the easiest lists I ever came up with because there's so many great designs and we only got one toy of. Let me know your favorite in the comment section below. Maybe we run this back again if we have 10 more that we can do. But for now, that is the list. Feel free to debate it at your leisure below. And as always, I will see you next time. Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.